Hey everybody. There's a video floating around about how the OSR is dead again. And the guy who made it doesn't really seem to understand what the OSR is or how it works. And that's what I wanted to talk about today on Greyhawk Grognard. So this other video, which I'm not going to link to, it's easy to find. I'm sure a lot of people are commenting upon it, but I don't want to give him the bandwidth. Essentially the premise is that the OSR is dying because we're not ostracizing people who are awful, who claim to be in the OSR, and it's very weird the way it's framed, because the way he puts it, it's that it's bad that the OSR is allowing these people to say what they're doing, to say what they're saying, and do what they're doing. And I'm not going to comment on the specifics because it's a no-brainer. Everybody, these particular people to whom he refers are awful and noxious, and I don't like them and I don't support them, but I also don't feel compelled to go around denouncing everyone with whom I disagree on any particular topic. I'd never do anything else if that was the case. I like the things I like, I support the things I support, I believe the things I believe, I play the things that I play, and I don't need to go around denouncing other people who feel differently, who say things I disagree with, who believe things that I don't believe in, or who play games that I don't play. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because it betrays a fundamental lack of understanding as to what the OSR is and how it works. Because it's not possible for the OSR to not let someone do something or say something. The OSR isn't some monolithic thing where there's a small select group of moderators or whatever. It's not a Reddit, it's not a blog or a forum or anything like that. It's a vast number of different people, all of whom have different takes and different thoughts and so forth. Some people in the OSR are very politically conservative, some are very politically liberal, and some have beliefs that don't fall into that neat categorization. Some aren't political at all. It's a vast calliope of people with different things that they believe. There are people who say horrible things, who are on one side of a political spectrum. There are people who say horrible things who are on the other side of the political spectrum. And again, it's not my place, it's not my choice, it's not my obligation to denounce those people or to step away from them or to try to get them canceled from showing up at events or whatever. If I don't want to interact with somebody at a convention, I'm not going to interact with them. But the mere fact that I'm at a convention that somebody else is at does not mean that I endorse everything that person has ever said. It's ludicrous. It's absurd. The OSR is far, far, far too nebulous and too wide-reaching for anything like that. It can't function that way. And frankly, I would say that that's true of the 5th edition D&D community, or whatever in eternity, whatever the latest version of the D&D rules set is, the people who play that, it's the same thing. You're going to have people who are liberal, you're going to have people who are conservative, you're going to have people who are libertarian or socialist or whatever. You're going to have all kinds of people who are playing these games, and the hubris to think that you can say, I don't agree with you, therefore you can't play the same game that I play. The mindset that makes you believe that you have that right and that power is just beyond my capacity to understand. It just doesn't work that way. So when this individual says that the OSR is dying and nobody's ever going to play OSR games because there's this handful of half a dozen people who say awful things that I don't like, no, it doesn't. It can't possibly work that way. This is not the way that the gaming community works. It's not the way that life works. I mean, you might yearn for, or this individual might yearn for a system in which he can, in fact, say, you're not allowed to play the game I want to play because you said this. Your social credit score is too low. You're not allowed to buy that latest module. If he might want that. He might want to live in a world like that where all is ideological purity. But I mean, that's not the way the world works outside of China. And, I certainly think the vast majority of people, OSR or not, who play Dungeons and Dragons wouldn't want to live in a world like that, where only one point of view is expressed. Now, as far as these particular people that this guy is talking about, I don't have to denounce them because nor do I have to support them. They're there. They're often doing their own thing. I don't interact with them at all, mostly. Most of them I don't interact with at all. One or two I know tangentially, but it's not the kind of thing that I feel compelled that I need to speak out against everything that they said ever. I don't go combing through people's Twitter feeds and all that. It just doesn't occur to me to do that. And the OSR doesn't work that way. So to say that the OSR is going to die in 10 or 20 years because no young people are ever going to play those games because you're allowing these 6 people to say what they're saying. Horrible things, awful things, shitty things, but just because a relative handful of nut jobs are out there does not mean that nobody's ever going to be playing Swords and Wizardry or Old School Essentials or Labyrinth Lord or any of the myriad of different things, or first edition D&D or basic D&D or whatever. There's a zillion options out there, and just because there's this handful of people saying things that most of us don't like doesn't mean that, oh my God, the OSR as a whole has failed because it has not rallied around and denounced these people and shunned them and collectively turned their backs on them and denied them water, salt, and fire, or bread, salt, and fire. It's absurd. So when this guy gets off saying, the OSR is going to die in 10 or 20 years, and it's a good thing because none of you people, because you're all conservative, horrible white supremacists, but not all of you, just, these 6 people, but that taints you all, and it's your fault for not doing anything about them. No, I don't agree with that. I don't subscribe to that sort of interpretation of how the gaming community works, how the OSR works. There will be people playing first edition AD&D well after my death, thank you very much, just as there are people who still listen to Led Zeppelin, and there are still people who listen to the Beatles, even though they're not around anymore. Young people still find the old stuff when it's better than the new stuff, at least subjectively saying. So anyway, I had to get that off my chest. Thank you for listening, and as always, have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.